Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Welcome to WithTheRadebes. And today we are going to be talking about handling conflict in marriage with grace.
Handling conflict in marriage with grace.
Yeah.
I think just a quick recap. On the previous episode, we talked about
Balancing individuality.
balancing individuality,
togetherness,
and togetherness in marriage. And today we really feel that it's so important that we, talk about handling conflict in marriage with grace, because in pursuing, our goals, in pursuing that individuality and that togetherness, it can, create, conflict.
Bit of,
And how do we then handle that? So
and it's something that most couples, face. It's something that we're all too familiar with in marriages. Conflict.
And conflict is always going to happen, guys. It's always going to happen. It's inevitable.
It's inevitable.
It is. But how we handle it, it can either, make us or break us. And, in this episode, I would really love us to discuss 3 points, or 3 key points. One, mainly, understanding the root of conflict. And the second point being approaching conflict with grace. And thirdly, how do we move forward together after resolving conflicts, right?
Yes. We'll also explore scriptures and quotes that can guide us in managing disagreements in a way that honors both our spouse and God.
So true.
We need to remember that it's not us against each other, but God is also there, so we need to pay attention.
I always tell my wife, it's not me versus her. It's us versus the situation. It's us versus the conflict, right? So firstly, understanding the root of conflict, right? Understanding the root of conflict. So it's often the disagreements, right, in marriage that how can I put it?
Like disagreements in marriage aren't usually about, I don't know what you're trying to say.
They're not.
Want to say?
They're not usually
trying to read your mind.
Things that are on the surface, right? They are deep things. They are, deep issues like unmet needs. They are, deep issues like past hurts.
Deep-seated.
Yes, and also, miscommunication. As well. It's not really. I know, at times when we have a conflict, I know that at times it's something that happened last week or 3 days ago or 2 days ago.
But actually, those things could be stemming from things that happened a long time ago. So, like in James 4:1, James asks, what causes fights and quarrels among you? So don't they come, it says, continues to say, don't they come from your desires that battle within you? So this verse points that the root of many conflicts lies within our hearts, and our desires. It's things that are deep within ourselves.
So true. And it's if we just really take a step back and ask, right, ourselves that what really is the issue?
What's causing the conflict?
Causing the conflict to arise? And as are we feeling insecure? Are we unheard? Are we unappreciated? What is it that's really going on? You need to find that out. And understanding, when we understand the root cause, right, that can help us really address the real issues of what's really what's really going on.
Yeah, instead of getting caught up in the argument, and Dr. John Gottman said, who's a renowned marriage counselor, and we mentioned him in the previous episode. He says that he talks about softening the startup when addressing conflicts.
Yeah.
This means beginning the conversation in a gentle and non-confrontational way, which can prevent the situation from escalating. And moving on to read. Sorry. I don't know, my mind is at. Sorry, but Proverbs 15:1 says it supports this approach, and it says a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger.
Yeah. So practically, when you sense conflict, brewing, take a moment to reflect on your feelings and ask God, that for wisdom, ask God for understanding. It's not about winning the argument, right? But about seeking understanding and also resolution. And with what my wife said in Proverbs 15:1, it says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." So we need to be gentle, and this is going to lead us to our second, point. We need to be, gentle in how we address, issues. And when I mean gentle, I mean we need to be considerate.
Yeah.
On how we respond to conflict in marriage.
Yeah, and also we need to keep the issue at hand, because sometimes we mostly tend to get off topic and bring other things into what we are not talking about, and that makes things worse.
Like I always do with her, she's all over at times. And I have to
bring her back.
I'm like, no, we're not dealing with this issue. We are dealing with this
these
issue.
3 things.
Yeah.
Right now we are here.
So second point, approaching the conflict with grace. So grace is such a powerful concept. When we define grace, would say unmerited favor, right? And it's something that we obviously receive from God and learn the whole concept from God, that when I've hurt her or vice versa, how do I show grace to her? Right? It's not always easy to extend the same grace to our spouse, especially in the heat of a moment.
But the trick is in knowing that it's my husband is not
enemy.
Yeah, he's not the enemy, and he's not out. It's not. He didn't intentionally. He didn't plan. To make me feel, to say something or do something that will make me feel
a certain
way at the end of the day. So you have to. The grace has to come in that, knowing that maybe it was out of misinformation or a misconception. So and efficiency.
Misunderstanding.
And Ephesians 4:2-3 encourages us that to be completely humble and gentle. So be patient, bearing with one another in love. And it says, make every effort to keep the unity in the spirit through the bond of peace.
Yes.
And so this scripture reminds us that approaching conflict with grace requires humility, gentleness, and patience. So these, are some of the fruits of the Spirit that we need to cultivate as children of God.
True.
And practice in our marriages.
Yeah, and remember again that grace doesn't mean avoiding the issue, right? Or pretending that everything is okay.
When it's not.
It means addressing the issue with the heart that seeks reconciliation. With the heart that resolves, that is seeking for resolve. Rather than revenge.
Yeah.
Rather than revenge
on the issue for I don't know what, to not eventually get out of it. Yeah. So.
And one of the things that I like doing, especially when we are facing a conflict, I use a lot of I statements rather than you.
It's something we've mentioned in our previous episode as well.
Yeah, because like I at times that I feel that we use a lot of you. You made me feel this way. You made me feel, and it shifts the blame from
yourself.
From yourself to to another person,
and it makes the other person feel horrible about themselves, because it's like an attack on. It ends up being like an attack on who they are, and not wanting to. Not you coming across as someone who wants to resolve the issue.
Yeah. For example, we'll say that you never listen to me. And I think that's one of the statements we use often.
Which would be an exaggeration.
You never listen to me.
Yeah.
Or you never, you always say this. You always say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we could say that instead of saying you never listen to me, you can simply say I feel unheard when 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 happens.
Or you can start with sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes
I feel that 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and again, this shifts, focus from blame, to sharing, your feelings, which can lead to a more, constructive conversation.
And it also leads to listening actively as well, which is something we mentioned in another previous episode, talking about effective communication. So these things are, they work hand in hand.
So it's important to actively listen to your spouse, to your spouse perspective. It's very, very important. And I mean, maybe one day we'll delve deep into that, listening actively.
Yeah, because it's not an easy thing. It doesn't come naturally for most people.
I mean, even James says in James 1 verse 19, he says that everyone should be quick to listen. And slow to speak. Slow to speak.
I love that verse.
Slow to speak.
Even though I struggle.
And slow to become angry. This one is for me.
It's hard because I speak fast already. Naturally.
Slow to get angry.
I'm kidding. So, I'm learning. I'm trying.
So such verses like this verse is the key to handling conflict with grace.
Yeah.
Right. By truly listening again, we show our spouse that we value
their feelings
and opinions.
Yes.
If even if you don't agree.
Yeah, even if maybe he is saying something that you think is like, what, did he really say that, like something.
Lastly,
and finally, let's discuss how to move forward together after resolving a conflict. And it's one of the things, it's one thing to resolve a conflict, but it's another to ensure that it strengthens rather than weakens your relationship.
True.
So here we need to apply wisdom. Hey.
Yeah,
we need wisdom.
Nothing else again. You don't have anything?
I don't have any. You can go. Okay. Yeah, you can go.
Philippians 2:2 again. With what she said, it says, "Be like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind." So, this unity is essential in marriage. It's important that we are one. In marriage, especially after a conflict has been, resolved.
Yeah.
That you don't, that you're not thinking your own things, and
you iron out.
Yeah, like entertaining certain things or certain thoughts. It's about coming back together as a team again. And making sure that the resolution leads to or the resolution leads to growth.
Okay.
Rather than stagnation and dreaming
and
about
and just
dreaming about this situation could have turned out this way. No. It's about, resolution that leads to growth
and reflecting as well. Yeah. What did we learn from this this conflict? Because conflicts don't just happen. They stem from somewhere, and you usually find out other things that you were not aware of. So it gives you a chance to reflect in a positive way, because sometimes you look at these things in a bad way, in a negative light. But if you look at it in another angle, in another perspective, you can see that there's something we can learn from this.
Yeah.
What did
you learn about? What did you learn about the situation? What did you learn about each other? And how do we move forward
and avoid it happening in the future?
In the future, yeah. So it's also important to let go of lingering resentment. Colossians 3 verse 13, it says, "Bear with each other and forgive one another. If any of you has grievances against someone, right, forgive as the Lord forgave you."
Yeah.
It's important. It also applies in marriage. Forgive as the Lord has forgiven you.
Oh, it does. It does.
It
That's the main place where it does.
Forgive as the Lord has forgiven you.
Yeah.
So forgiveness is again essential for in moving forward. And holding on to grudges can again create a barrier between you and your spouse. So I always say that marriage has to do with a lot of forgiveness.
A lot of forgiveness.
A lot of forgiveness.
Bringing things to the light.
Yeah.
Instead of bearing things and living in a place where you have like skeletons.
Yeah. And again, another practical step is to reaffirm your love and your commitment. That yes, I understand that we did not agree in this, or we fought in this, but assuring her that I need you to know that I love you. I need you to know that I appreciate you. I need you to know that I'm sorry. That constant,
come together after.
Yeah.
It's very important.
Yeah.
Because you are also closing the gap that the enemy might use to come between you and divide you. So you need to show that you are a united front every time.
Yeah. Sorry, love. It's that whole idea of saying that despite the agreement, you and I are a team.
Despite the disagreement.
Yeah, the disagreement.
Yes.
You and I are a team and are committed to each other.
And we'll find a way to agree more.
Yeah. That we're committed to each other and also growing in this marriage that God has blessed us with.
Yeah.
So I think that's it.
We've covered all of it.
Yeah. So again, if you have any questions, guys, you can comment in the comment section. And
you can subscribe. You can share. You can like. We would really appreciate that. It keeps us. It encourages us to keep these coming. Amen. And to better ourselves as well. And these videos for you.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Until next time, guys. Remember to
love, to laugh, and to keep the faith. And he laughs at me every single time. Why did you say it?